Lent by Maurice. At first the thunder and rain defeat, but then renew the ground and break it terribly open. Now even the dawn has heavy darkness in it. The sun, in silence seeming to refuse the sky, has heeded what was needed to stun and try. Having found a bird's wing, the whole thing maliciously from the bird's body torn, no more for flying. Under the tree I walk along, continuing my lesson, as other better birds not born for grieving sing. I'm beginning to understand how wrong I was, and how long it was I once believed that seeking you was something I could do alone. That was a lark. The wind and the loud hurrahs of cedar trees redress me. Stark you are in this song. On warming days I hear from the ground the tiny sound of water dripping, as if it's slipping down and the living earth is breathing out its sleep and waking. Let me repeat, the living earth is waking and making the time for sighing sweet. Oh, teach me to untangle hope from hope that's false, and lead me farther down the winding path and whatever else you think I need, because the angle of the woven slope of love and grief is steep, unless the bind is by design. The possibility that part of you is hidden in the mystical tradition of the word so perfectly reveals the language of silence you have always spoken. Only our passionate symbols half create to feel the art. To be involved in silence and yet to listen to it, to wander in the midst of nowhere, not to know, or hunger to know, to be in constant prayer, though not to be through with praying, to stand in the blaze of beauty, to be silent with you. The track in the woods, the dead leaves newly disturbed, the little lines and signs of what has been a sudden blur of presence. How similar it is to a new sentence after reading it. How fine of you to leave it or let it occur. And you the listener, and you the very sound, and you the knower and the knowledge, and you the single thing and everything, and you the certain and unforeseen, as nothing renders all, as grace comes through the bitter fall. The light by fading is purpling its reddish look, and though the water in the stream below the hill heralds its motion slowly down by singing, the reflected tree is as still as a word on the page, as I am still, reading the book. It is not the recognition of you or reverence or my growing like a ring inside a tree in knowing you that burdens me yet lovingly, but my acceptance of that you have already given me, your taking me. So as you or part of you can die and be divided, that we shall be not saved from suffering, but saved instead from suffering, without hope or knowing it shall end, you decided to give this season, when passion is breaking out of the earth, no longer dead. After feeling the world is falling farther apart and following the gravity of grief strangely to reel with relief, as if despairing cares is wallowing and thin as a thread and sundered by birds heard pealing their prayers. On the hill, in the little mound of trees of different kinds and sizes, as if they give each other life, as if the round of trees is a single living thing, I saw on the ground, yet glistening, a drop of blood, and knew it dropped from you. To be reminded of grace is grace itself. Shorter the shadows fall. Illumination now is lit, and lighter is heavy life, yet like a lace with all its order designed to be seen through, I see and avow the bit that's brighter. The blue of the bare sky that's pierced so serenely by the sycamore is an agonizing art of contrast and love, not ordinary love, but vaster, though adding crows for piercing those is kindly devastation, the beautiful part. Now night is tangled in the hills, and like a river continuous the darkness flows and goes without an end, like you, and as your darkness thrills, I have discovered your continuity as trills of those you shout and send. It's plain that everything is here. What isn't seen serenely is evident by being beyond its contemplation. A heaven leaning, to be sure. I can't imagine a question for you that isn't already fondly greening with answer. Not wisdom or wisdom's speech, not these I seek, though sought, or probably so, because I thought I should, because to be wise is prized. I'd rather now arrive at the famous cloud, and before it slowly not to know myself, and be caught in the breach. It's blue and greening now, and the chill of the dying ground is all but gone, and everything that's green is brightly clad in slightly brighter green and filled with a gladder sound. The clatter of green abounds before it's stilled to sighing sound. For something to begin with nothing and end with all, though not to end, in order to fulfill, to be revealed in full, and yet requiring a fall, routinely too, from all created after you, compelled to call for you. Once I unwillingly become remote from you and wake to discover the distance I've suddenly gone, I wonder who was I, unknowing, following. Then my own name so starkly answers the wonder, paling, alone, and burned by shame. When rivers curl around and curve as a hand to make determined shapes and leave the land designed, I marvel and take a steady look to find your mind behind the scene, but see instead in parsed and portioned green, eternity. Let there be dew sprinkled and flung, and let there be on tiny branches shiny droplets hung to reflect the sun. Let me be moved by sparkling, let you be proved by everything that clings and pines to chime the reckoning. The first triumphant violets have found my gaze. The tiny trumpeters have blown their horns from the greening maze and summoned me to notice, yet only to see them sunning there, so quietly reborn, undoomed and free. I confess to have the burden off, and shine myself in transformation never feels complete enough or lasting, though I admit discreetly wanting the lighter load, or a better way to bear it, or a place to lay it down. As I know it, time unwinds and slows to seem more measured, but another time is adding up, a tick, and ages pass. So what was living once returns, to be more treasured, becoming matter for the ground and pricked to feed the grass. To contemplate the sacrifice and why it requires a perversely formal ceremony of joy before the anguish, the jumble of shame and ornament, the donkey ride, unrhymable, all of this discord designed to reconcile. There is no greater banality than power whose force and authority have been gained by great deceit or falsifying a righteousness. The lies unravel now from the source, but rather than claiming glory, you tender your heart and soul for dying. I build a temple out of sheets and rags lowered over the apple trees to keep the frost from killing the flowers. A child has done this hopeful feat to make a tower from a tree with sanctuary underneath and room for a ghost. In the final days, if it is so that I would turn from you or deny I know you, please allow my cowardice and vanity to be forgiven and help me more to comprehend you. Though I offend you, bend my knees to send you. My sympathy persists for those who couldn't stay awake when you were praying in the garden, and twice you asked before the betrayer came and kissed you, which didn't sway your purpose to take away the dark or harden your fiercest task. In the purple dawn, the paradox of the day begins. The crowds are cheering death in the very face of saving grace. The nails are hammered into the wood. The blood glistens. The curtain tears in two by God, and we proclaim it good. The death is suddenly a fright. It wrenches those who wanted it and can't undo it now, and they go wailing. My Lord, I heard a bird this night, one mocking, whose enchanting stirred my heart to joy at how it sang through failing. The simplicity of coming back to life as a flower from desolation, the symbol, now the fact, the same power, as if you rose up out of the ground, as everything in spring in colorful passion banishes the suffering.